This is the Pigeon River. That's I-40 up there. The North Carolina-Tennessee border is some miles that way. I'm on my way to Charleston to visit my old coworkers from 2015 that worked installing electrical in mansions on Kiowa Island. So I'm going to work with them for a day. Visit. Night 2 of this trip is about a half hour north of Charleston in Francis Marion National Forest. It's pretty pathetic compared to national forests out west, but I did find some level of solitude compared to the horrible Memorial Day crowd in the city. There's no campsites, traffic's backed up everywhere, so I just left for tonight. So here is St. John's Yacht Harbor. In 2015, Sarah and I had our sailboat, the Distant Drum, on that dock over there towards the end for, a month or 2 months or 3 months, or it was a while. And they wanted us to get boat insurance, and we just never did it, so eventually they made us leave. And I rode my bike all over the place. The grocery store I worked at is a few miles down that way. And then when I moved our boat downtown, I had to ride about 7 miles to work at the grocery store. So 15-mile round trip almost. It was a nice life though. Ride my bike, get all that exercise, then I'd come home after work and I'd jump in the water. Well, I'd ride my dinghy to the boat, jump in the water, cook dinner on the grill on the back of it. Pretty nice. Sarah and I always used to shop here when we lived at the marina, which was just a couple of miles down the road that way. And then talked to the meat cutters and they gave me a job here. The day before we were going to leave and sail our boat into the open ocean somewhere, they offered me that job, and I decided I'd get more Bitcoin. And it was about $200 at the time, so I mean, mixed feelings, but I guess it's definitely the right decision by most standards. But we didn't take our trip. We ended up selling the boat eventually. But I got a lot of Bitcoin. Folly Beach, which is pretty crowded. Doesn't look crowded, but try to find a parking spot. After I left St. John's Yacht Harbor, I brought the boat over here and I headed at anchor over there, past the big bridge, between that and another bridge, and I would bring my dinghy over into the dinghy dock, and I had my bike parked over here somewhere, and then I'd do my 7-mile bike rides. It's a lot of boat and bike riding, but I really liked it. That's the Angel Oak, one of Charleston's tourist destinations. John's Island. So here's downtown Reedville, middle of nowhere, that we sailed into on our sailboat in 2009 with no money and spent a whole summer. It looks exactly the same. The Crazy Crab. There's the restaurant. And we came in with our boat on the river back there, pulled up to the dock, and we had about $20, and we decided to might as well just get some cheeseburgers. So we went into the restaurant and spent our last $20 on a couple of cheeseburgers and sodas. And we didn't really know what we were going to do. But we noticed a guy, an older man. He looked too distinguished to be sweeping the floors. So we asked him, "Do you want to hire a couple of wayward sailors for the summer?" Sure enough, he was the owner, Charles Williams, who I had dinner with last night, 13 years later. And back in 2009, he said, "Why don't you have a seat over there and we'll talk?" And we sat in a booth, and he said that we could keep our boat at the dock and he'd find work for us for the summer. And sure enough, he did. We went crabbing all around these areas of the river here, and this owl without a head, I think it was here then, without a head. The bathrooms there with the showers in them, that's where we took showers. And it was usually quiet like this around here, except on the weekends when the restaurant would open, it would get really, really busy all of a sudden. And I would usually work in the kitchen, so it would be lots of not doing anything, and then a few hours of crazy rushing around. Inside the crazy crab, if you could see it, that is exactly what I remember it looking like years ago. One thing I remember is there was a seagull one day back here eating a big chunk of floating, rotting whatever, and I snuck up on it very slowly over about 20 minutes and just got closer and closer behind it, and it was so engrossed in its food it didn't notice, and I just slowly closed my hands around on its wings, and I expected it would go crazy, but it didn't. It just turned its head and looked at me. It knew what had happened. Gonzo would have been about where that big boat is right there. I think one slip beyond that was Gonzo. That's where we kept Gonzo all summer. That was our boat, Gonzo's Flying Dog. And right under here is where I caught that seagull. It was under here, eating some junk. And yeah, there's the Crazy Crab Kitchen behind there. Sarah and I were in the 4th of July parade too, on the float. Sarah played her guitar and sang a song called Chesapeake Born, and I was doing the sound. And then at the end of the summer, a family on a big sailboat came in here, a huge metal sailboat. They were from New Zealand. They were electricians that worked their way around the world doing electrical work on yachts. And we left with them and went to New York City, and they had 2 little kids, an 8 and a 6-year-old kid, and spent several weeks with them. And then we came back, and we basically spent all the money we made that summer in New York. That was going to be the money that we traveled south with in the winter. So we had to come up with another plan at the last minute. We put our boat up for sale here, actually, and it sold on eBay, but the person didn't come to get it, so they didn't pay or come to get the boat, so we still had the boat and still didn't have a plan. So real quick, it was like October, we went up to Annapolis, a few hours north of here on the boat, and we worked the Annapolis boat show for a couple of weeks, saved a couple $1,000s, and made it all the way to Key West, Florida a couple of months later, where we eventually gave Gonzo away to a homeless former basketball star that was very drunk all the time. So there you have it, Reedville, Virginia.
Sure, we can ride over to
Yeah.
stop by to see the Chip's back in.
Okay.
He goes crabbing.
Yeah, I'd be glad to.
Yeah.
Well, is Sarah's position still available at the Crazy
Still available, yeah, we'll make one. Hell, if she's interested, she can have my job. I'll just come down here and have breakfast and drink coffee mornings. Yep.
It's really remarkable how much it's the same. I mean, other than that room, I noticed that room because remember that was a wall.
Right.
But other than that,
Now that shoots right through you and it doesn't,
well, I'll be in it.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It can remove the stick.
Okay.
But the people will still be in it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
Yep. Yeah.
Perfect.
All right.
It's a very long drive home from Reedville, Virginia. Home is in southern Illinois. About 14 hours. And by the time stops are in, I'd say at least 16 hours. So probably won't happen in one day. This massive storm came through. It was in the mid-90s and it dropped down into the 60s within an hour or so. It was raining leaves that had been sucked up into the atmosphere before the storm. And you could feel the pressure change in the ears and torrents of rain. Now it's actually pretty nice.